Welcome back. Robert Chinito here. Part 2 on Stop Gambling, Be the House. Very exciting crypto. Once again, my name is Robert Chinito. I've been experiencing this crypto world for like 15 or more years. And yeah, more than 15 years. 15 years ago, I got into mining for the first time. And so I've been building the crypto industry from the very beginning alongside others, right? Before there was an industry that existed. And what we have here is quite a significant, like, new financial thing that's awesome. So imagine a token that only goes up in price, right? If that were true, everybody would do that. And we kind of see that with Bitcoin now. We look at Bitcoin's past and we see, hey, on average, Bitcoin has only gone up. And it's gone up a lot. And then we see the future and we're like, with that pattern continuing, really it should only go up. But right now it's down. I don't know. Is that the end of it? Should I buy more Bitcoin? Well, clearly this is what people want. They want their value to go up. And this game, in the previous video, if you haven't seen it, it went over how this game, this economy that we have, it's rigged. It has sustained because the middleman always wins and the richest always win. And what are they winning at? They're winning at extracting money from you, making you more poor. And banks are experts at siphoning money. Banks are experts at extracting money from others. In fact, they're so successful, they do it to nations. Wow. I mean, today you have what? Basically today you have the bankers so desperate for humanity to get into a war. They're so desperate because they want to make some money and they know people are frustrated, right? You just poke the bear enough and then the bear goes crazy. Me personally, I'm not falling for that crap. I'm not going to war with anybody. Hey, if you want to be violent with me, I'll walk away. You want to point a gun at my head and say, hey, you, join the military or else we're going to kill you right here. I'd be like, you know what? The other option of being killed right now doesn't sound too bad, frankly, because I know, I feel like I need to hold back more about me. I'm a weird person. But here, right, what you're looking at, actually you're looking at it here on the screen. It's over here for me. How do you make a token that only increases in value? And why hasn't somebody already done this before? Well, one, you make a token that only increases in value by having it backed by something. Like, we all know the US dollar is not backed by shit. It's just backed by war and murder and people being afraid. That's it. But wouldn't that be amazing if the dollar was backed by Bitcoin? Oh, sorry, gold people out there, if you're a gold person listening, you know that it would be awesome if the dollar was backed by gold again. Well, that's how you make an asset. First of all, that's how you make an asset stable-ish. You have it backed to something. You have it backed by assets. And that's what Genius Token is about. It's backed by assets. The Genius Exchange, if you own the Genius Token, you own all the collateral in the exchange. So how do you create then a token? That's how you create one that's like stable-ish, stable with the world around it. Well, how do you make one only rise in value? Glad you asked, because there are two ways. This is what I've learned from Genius, from studying Genius's code, from studying Genius's design. I've been fascinated with Genius longer than I've been fascinated by Bitcoin because it's cool. You see, Bitcoin doesn't have its own backing, and that's its flaw. It doesn't have its own backing. Sure, you can say it's backed by math and stuff, but it's not backed by real-world assets. That's what people care about. So Bitcoin's flaw is that it depends on centralized liquidity. Hey, Bitcoin brought us a huge step forward. Bitcoin showed us, hey, if you separate money and state, that might be a good idea. That might be very valuable, and a lot of people might want that. And it was true. That's what Bitcoin showed us. And Bitcoin became very valuable. Now here, from all the technologies we have today, now we have the possibility to have an asset that only increases in value. And this asset is Genius Token. Much like what Bitcoin showed, instead, Genius is going to show us, hey, if you have an economy and you separate economy with the state, it's probably a really good idea. And it's probably going to be very valuable and people are going to want it. So we're all early. A lot of times, look, if you're seeing this video, it's because you surely, like if you're still watching and listening to me talk, it's because you've been looking for this and you found it. Congrats. Like, I know how that feels. So how do you make this asset only increase in value? With revenue. And in the prior video, we went over how when you have an exchange or lots of exchanges where lots of prices are changing all the time, revenue is always going to happen. You're always going to have people buying and selling on your exchange because people bought and sold on another exchange and changed the price. So exchanges, especially automated exchanges that don't have like people that they got to hire, like autonomous exchanges, like decentralized exchanges, like Genius Exchange, like Uniswap Exchange, Aave's Market, etc. They always have business. They always have revenue. So how do you make a token only rise in value? You have it backed by hard assets, and then you have that backing increase and increase and increase from revenue. And increase and increase and increase. But your tokens, such as Genius tokens, such as Bitcoin, they need to be limited. They can't just grow forever. That's like Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't just grow forever. We see what a limited token like Bitcoin does for its economy. Mathematically, it does great. Same applies here with Genius token. So it's backed by hard assets. So the accumulation engine, the 50 trade proof, all right, the base. So Bitcoin, right? Let's say the base is Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin in the engine. So Genius Exchange, you can supply Bitcoin to it and say, hey, borrow my Bitcoin, borrow it for 90 days, and give me my share of Genius tokens at the end. And what this exchange does is, just like Coinbase, if people are selling back and forth 50 times, they're doing that with Bitcoin. After 50 trades, the Genius Exchange now has 1 full Bitcoin. Yeah. Purely fee revenue. Just like all the other exchanges in Coinbase, Kraken, and the middleman, just like them, the Genius Exchange now has like double the collateral because of trading. Pretty amazing, huh? And this happened just because Genius's exchange had a different price than the exchange on the outside world. So now if you're a token holder, your token is now worth double from you doing nothing. You just giving the Genius Exchange what it needs. The Genius Exchange is basically a business. Just like Bitcoin is a business. It's a business that prints money for people and lets people, transact and do accounting and stuff. That's valuable. Might not be valuable for your average person, but clearly there's a lot of evidence to show that it's valuable for the world. And Genius token, its business is exchange, and its revenues from exchange. Bitcoin's revenues from people transacting. Genius's revenue is from people, traders wanting to make money, which they always want to do. Well, that's good for me to talk about the limitations. One side note, the limitations are, well, in the Bitcoin world, you need the internet and you need people to want to transact. Okay? And you need people to want to transact without bankers getting involved. And believe me, the richest people in the world have bankers involved all the time and they hate it. So in Genius, its limitation is Genius depends on the internet also, but what Genius depends on is it depends on a society that wants to profit. If society wants to profit, Genius is where they want to go. When the Genius Exchange is relaunched, that's where people who want profit are going to go. So if society decides it no longer cares about profiting, Genius won't work. Nobody will care about it. So Genius is only going to work because Genius relies on people's desire to profit. And there's plenty of arbitrage market traders out there. In fact, there are more than 50 million people trading crypto online today. Globally, of course. And like as much as over $100 billion a day. And Genius is about to capture a bit of that and a bit more. So the vault's backing expands continuously and quickly because the price on the market is always changing. Okay, so this isn't magic. This isn't like Hex being like, yep, we've got some magical token that only rises in price. This isn't like Elephant where they're playing liquidity games or Hex where they're not being fully transparent about how it works. And this is not Up token or UpX token. Genius is pure structure, just like Bitcoin. People put in collateral because they want the exchange to use that collateral for market arbitrage to assist traders with market arbitrage. Yeah, this isn't gambling. This is just you're the house and you've made a means for people to make revenue. The people who make money with Genius Exchange, they're not even Genius users. They don't care. They're just looking for another exchange to have another price difference. So all of that collateral and all of that revenue totaled up and then divided by a fixed token supply, that's how you make something that only rises in value. See? It's like, why didn't I think of this? Right? You're probably thinking the same thing. Why didn't I think of this? Well, it wasn't possible 20 years ago. It was definitely not possible 20 years ago because you would have had other human beings stop you. It wasn't possible 15 years ago when Bitcoin was in its infancy because other human beings would have stopped you. And they would have stopped you by threatening to put you in jail, threatening to put charges against you for money laundering and all this other bullshit. So this wasn't possible then. It's possible today because of things like Ethereum. It's possible today because humanity wants to put all of their assets on the blockchain. If humanity didn't want to put their assets on the blockchain, Genius wouldn't be possible. So Genius is a new possibility today, and you're early because you heard about this from me, or you heard about it from the Genius community, whatever. Your first time watching this video, I don't mean it in an ego way, but what I do mean is this is very early, and it's exciting. So the value increases, the value of Genius's token increases because the exchange perpetually earns revenue because people are perpetually market prices are changing, and they're changing perpetually because people want to buy and sell that thing, Bitcoin, and it's happening 24/7 now. Now that crypto exchanges exist, centralized and decentralized, people want to trade 24/7. The stock market having opening and closing hours doesn't matter anymore. And with zero labor required. That makes this crazy. Total liquidity and freedom. Go ahead and check out this slide. Man, the person that made this is pretty awesome. I think so. So the old way is to lock up your tokens, make them illiquid commitments, and trap capital. Now, to be frank, Uniswap definitely gives you better. You're not locked up, so that's pretty cool. Here's the Genius way. So, this is speaking about the old way of making money when you have a stake in something and you're staking your tokens. Okay. Like with Aave, if you want to unstake your tokens, it's going to take 22 days. There's like a 20-day cooldown period. And then after 2 days of being cooled down, don't quote me on this, it's something like this. After 2 days, your commitment gets locked again. So you have to tell Aave, hey, I intend to withdraw in 20 days. Why? Because the system depends on that limitation. Genius doesn't. So the Genius way, you exit whenever you want. Hey, if you gave a 90-day commitment of the exchange using collateral, you can still get that commitment away, auction that commitment away to the public, and you'll get market price. Awesome. You're not locked in. And what I think is cool about the Genius auctions, because I was able to see these too when these were live. You'd get liquidity within 24 hours. And that's awesome. And what I see what the developers have done so far is that, yeah, you get liquidity within 24 hours also. You can get it in an hour if you want. If the market rate that you're happy with for your commitment in 1 hour has reached what you're happy with, you can grab that right away. You don't have to wait. So this is like maximum liquidity and freedom for everyone. So in the Genius world, yeah, it's like people are making money, but at whose expense? Because what we see in the economy today is people are always making money at someone else's expense. Genius token, it's not at someone else's expense. Genius token drives revenue from traders who Genius is getting a cut of their profit. And Genius also lets you, like if you're an advanced user of Genius and you've been around for some time, of course you haven't been using the exchange, If you've been using Genius for 3 years, you are like, when is that exchange going to come back? Because that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. People have never seen a price forced to rise before, because everything in our economy, the tokens in our economy, the stocks, they don't have backing. They're not fully backed. And they're not overbacked by their revenue. Genius it is. So this is amazing. We can't wait to see it. Genius changes the rules. Gonna move my face up here. All right. Battle-tested validation. Yep. You know, if I were anybody else, I would be thinking, if this is so great, then why isn't everybody using it? Right? Well, everybody was using it that knew about it when this Genius exchange was out. So the answer, why isn't everybody using this? Because it's gone right now. It's gone. And everybody's looking forward. Everybody that knows about this is looking forward to the relaunch of the Genius exchange. The Genius token's still around. Great. If you have Genius token, you can't wait for the Genius exchange launch. But there's quite a bit of validation. There's 3 years of market validation, data validation, math validation, validating that Genius actually does what it says it does. Like everything that I read from this PDF here and everything that I just shared from my own personal experience, that's been validated. No one has stood up and said, this is flawed, this doesn't work because XYZ. No one. And people have had 3 years to do it. Many haters of people in the community, right, that want to, call them like a grifter or a scammer, they've had the opportunity to step up and say that, and they have not. So there's been 3 years of validation research. That's powerful. The exchange itself was up for 6 months, right? It was up in the real world for 6 months. And there's a case study. I'll put the case study in the link below. The case study validates that. The case study took like 200 or something like example transactions on the Binance network. Genius runs on multiple networks, by the way. And they said, hey, this really works. Here's the examples. Haven't seen an example where it doesn't work. Awesome. So Genius shows something different. Verified, even the smart contracts, they were audited by 2 reputable companies. You surely know, if you're a crypto bro, you know about Certic. So verified by Certic, verified by Glipner Security, also verified by an independent person that was working with the Genius developers. So let's say it like this. Oh, the DAO, that's interesting. That's what's going on now. But let's say it like this. In the current flawed economy that we live in and we work with today, in that system, when you buy it pumps, when you sell it dumps. So the current economy we live in is pump and dump. Even if you're in Bitcoin, even if you're using your superior token, you're still a pump and dump scheme. There's still a zero-sum game. Genius changes that. Genius is not a zero-sum game. It's a game where things are becoming over-collateralized, and it's a game where collateral gets trapped because it gets trapped to always be in business, to always be generating revenue. So in the current economy we have today, it's a pump and dump thing. What I see with Genius is that when people buy, the price doesn't pump. When people buy, it gets stabilized. Its value, the lowest its value can hit, becomes more stable. Liquidity gets thicker. And then when people sell, the price rises. The mechanics force it to rise. There's that whole revenue thing. So best I can say in metaphor is where we live today, our economy, a flawed economy, is a pump and dump, zero-sum game. With Genius, it's a stabilize and rise, non-zero-sum game. It's awesome. And there's validation behind that. All right, the ultimate upgrade. All right, so Genius DAO. Here's what's going on now. A DAO is like a government on the blockchain. A DAO is like a company with corporate governance and all that corporate-y stuff on the blockchain. You see, Genius is an exchange. There's no CEO. There's no corporate headquarters. There's no servers to shut down in case you're like, you're Chase or JP Morgan or you're BlackRock and you're like, I don't agree with you. BlackRock, the government, they couldn't shut down Bitcoin. Same thing here. They can't shut this down. Now, Genius is an exchange and it needs to know what should be listed on this exchange. Just like Coinbase or Binance, they need to know, hey, what do we list here? They also need to know, what do we delist? What do we get rid of? That's the same thing, the Genius DAO. The Genius DAO, Genius needs answers from a human being. And 3 years ago, the DAO was just like one account. Sort of like how Hex had an OA. It didn't make sense or matter. It was kind of dumb. But here, with Genius, the one account would say what like stocks and stuff get traded. That's being replaced by a DAO. That's being replaced by a body of people. And and soon after that DAO is launched, everyone will be able to participate. So everyone can have a say and it can have a vote. Great. If you have what is called, I'm going to call a Genius commitment, like you're committing capital to back Genius's price and allowing the exchange to operate, you have a voice. You can vote. That's a pretty big deal for this launch. All right, so of all the revenue that Genius's exchange makes, 15% of that goes to the DAO's like community war chest. So if $1 billion of trading revenue happens because let's say $100 billion was traded back and forth, which is what's currently happening today. If that happens in a single day, then Genius's governance, which, remember, it's controlled by everybody who has a piece of Genius. Genius's governance has like $150 million a day to pay the entire population to do stuff, to basically make Genius more awesome. That's insane. The Dash analogy. Okay, in 2008, I was watching this very closely. In 2008, Dash funded the entire North American Bitcoin conference in Miami just from its automated blockchain treasury. Really, they funded it in 2017, but yeah, the Bitcoin event was January 2018. Genius brings this exact financial firepower to a modern decentralized exchange to fund government development, marketing, and ecosystem growth forever and faster. Hell yeah. All right, the Genesis launch is imminent. All right, so this DAO, at first, this governance seat is going to be seated by 16 people. So 16 people will basically say what collateral gets traded on Genius's exchange, and 16 people will get 15% of the revenue to decide what that revenue is spent on. Hey, maybe the revenue is spent on getting Genius token listed on Coinbase. That's huge. So only 2 seats are remaining. You know, right now, as of talking, I think only 1 seat is remaining. It's going to go quick. So hey, one lucky person's going to get that. But what these 16 seats does is these 16 seats will also have the first V1 tokens. The first V2 tokens. The first tokens for this exchange. Not enough to dump its price to zero. Far from that. Because remember, Genius's exchange works different. Its token works different. So, yeah, I have one of these seats. I'm very excited about it. I have voluntarily committed my time to helping this crypto. Genius is literally genius. I have been very fascinated with it for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Like since people were talking about how to make a token that only goes up in value, I've been fascinated. The idea started with, hey, we've programmed money, Bitcoin. We've programmed algorithmic stable coins, stable tokens that like peg to a certain value. Okay, yeah, that's amazing. Things like DAI currency. DAI is a algorithmic stable coin. Oh, it's collateral backed, yeah, but you could say Liquidity is an algorithmic stable token. They work. So humanity made Bitcoin, they programmed money being able to enforce its value. Why can't people program something that enforces its value, pegs it, but only rises it? I think I first heard that idea like 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and I remained in that Slack. I mean, I was in that Slack in the first place because we were looking at gems to make money on, right? To make crypto gains. And that idea stuck with me and stuck with many other people. And I believe Genius does that. And I'm very excited about it. Just like I believed Bitcoin was going to do amazing things. Nobody believed it, but I saw it, and it was pretty cool. So this is why I'm interested in Genius. I want to see it change the world. All right. Well, thanks for checking this out. If you want more information, you can go to the Jenny Crypto Telegram. I'm blessed to have owned it, so I talk there lots of times. You can go to x.com/Jenny Crypto. That's GENI Crypto. Not owned by myself, but I follow it. It's a great Twitter. WeAllGenius.com. That's from the individual who made this PDF. T.me/Jenny Crypto. That's the Telegram room. There's a Reddit. Not a whole lot in the community of the Reddit. So if you wanna excite a community, if you wanna boom and get a community going, go to the subreddit Jenny Crypto. And look below, I'll have the case study. If you're the kind of person who likes to read case studies, check it out. If you're the type of person who likes to look at data, go to the website geni.best, GENI.best. There's tons of data there. You kind of need to know how to use it. And if you're like me and you like math and tokenomics and stuff, go to geni.to/smart contract. I'll put as many of those links below that I can remember, and have a great day, and I hope you've enjoyed this.